Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarastanivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Bhidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Once again, gentle reminder to wear masks which are found right by the door and to silence your phones. Thank you. We will chant up till verse 5 together. Yasya nishvasitam vedaha Yo vedebhyokhilam jagat nirmametamaham vande vidyatirthamaheshwaram vakshye vividishanyasam vidvanyasancha bhedatah hetu videha muktescha jivanmuktescha taukramat sannyasa hetur vairagyam Yadahar virajettada pravrajediti vedoktehe dastu puranagaha viraktir dvividha prokta tivra tivratareti cha satyameva tu tivrayam idyogi kutichake shakto bahudake tivra Tarayam hamsa samyite mumukshuf parame hamse sakshad vijnana sadhane. Interesting, we saw two kinds of vairagya. And what are they called? Strong and stronger. Very strange. What about the weak one? Well, we haven't gone there yet. It's a very interesting cycle, interesting discussion, because the discussion is all based on renunciation and renunciants. So, unless there is strong dispassion, the renunciation will not be undertaken. Since we are discussing renunciant lifestyles, so the strong dispassion is what comes first. And what about the weak one? Weak one we will discuss all right, but the weak dispassion, as the author will point out, does not give rise to renunciation. Manda. Manda means weak, tivra, strong, tivratara, viraktihi. Virakti means vairagya, means dispassion, and the stronger. So the weak one, the weak one means what? It's just a passing fancy of dispassion. Like right now, I don't feel like doing anything. Right now, I feel like giving everything up. Why? Because I've had a loss. This kind of a dispassion is what is brought about by certain conditions. Nashtarajyaha. So Nashtarajyaha means the one whose kingdom has been destroyed. A king who has been overpowered by some other, in the ancient example, But if we want to update that example, we can say some corporation that has gone under and the CEO is left, holding the bag, empty bag. And so that is one example where the status has gone, some money has gone. Nashtarajya. Everything that I thought, like the house is burned down, perhaps in a fire, this is the kind of, nashtarajya, that there is one kind of a weak vairagya that comes. And then another one is what? Dirgharogi. Dirgharogi means a chronic sufferer of some ailment. Because most ailments are like that anyway. They don't know what causes it, and there is no cure. Just keep popping pills and managing it until it can be managed no more. Then what happens? Lord Yama comes, that's all. It just is some kind of a chronic illness, usually degenerative, and the benefit of modern science is that the degeneration is slowed down to a little drop. So yes, it is still leaking, all the energy is going out of the body, but you can slow it down to such an extent that you can have a quality of life, etc. So that is the benefit of modern medicine. But somebody who is a chronic sufferer will also say, "Oh Lord Yama, where are you? Swing low, sweet chariot, come and get me." And Yama happens to be in the neighborhood. He was here on other business. He was like, "Oh, nobody even thinks of me. This person is thinking of me, let me pay them a visit. Hey grandma, I'm here. Take your inauspicious face away from me. Who called you?" "You just called me, you thought of me, I was so flattered." No. I am on a new trial, trial medicine. I have to attend. I have to be alive till the great-great-grandchild is born. Then we'll see. So, like this is what is called Dirgharogi. So there is some kind of vairagya there, and that is what we will see is called Manda, weak one. So in case somebody is wondering, how come we have this strange thing of strong and stronger, but there is nothing, called weak? What happened to the weak vairagya? And so that is what is there. Okay, and then the 6th verse now, that is what is going to describe the weak vairagya. Putradaradhanadinam nashe tatkaliki matihi dhik samsaramiti driksyat virakter mandata hisa. Together. Putradaradhanadinam nashe tatkaliki matihi dhik samsaramiti driksyat virakter mandata hisa. Putra, offspring, children. Dara means spouse. And it's very interesting. In the Sanskrit language, there are 3 words for wife. Dara, masculine word. And then bharya, feminine. And kalatram, neuter. Very interesting. Not all the words are feminine. Kalatram, neuter, but it means wife, spouse. And then dara, masculine, also means spouse. Maybe a bossy spouse, we don't know. But then kalatram, neuter. All the words means, spouse, wife. So, and wife means what? In the olden days, even though as the evolved Swami Vidyaranya is going to tell us that women have full right to renounce. There's a whole section he's going to talk about. It's amazing. The women have complete right to renounce and be any of these above mentioned sannyasis. Like, what is that? What is our favorite one? Favorite type? Kutichara. Yeah. Backyard studio sannyasi. Backyard Ananda. So women have the right to that one. Women have the right to be a bahudaka. Bahudaki, we should say. Because drinking of many waters, going to pilgrimage, they have the right to be a parivrajaka, a wandering monk. And women have the right to be a hamsa and a paramahamsa. But even though that right is given scripturally, in the Shruti, in the Upanishad, we see how Maitreyi, after listening to Yagyavalkya, follows him into the forest. And we see Gargi, who is called Brahmavadini. She is a sannyasi. She does not marry, and she is in fact appointed by King Janaka, not Sita's father, but somebody else, some other Janaka, to be the adjudicator of debates and to decide who is going to be admitted into a sabha, a select assembly of scholars. Who is in, who is out, she is the one who decides. She is the judge. And in the Smriti, which includes itihasa, history, etc., we find Sulabha. Sulabha means a great sage, Sulabha. She is a sannyasi. She comes to King Janaka's palace wanting a debate. Very interesting, So despite all these proofs, this pramana from the Shruti, from the itihasa, from the smritis, even Manusmriti, which is very, Manusmriti is very conservative. Even there, he says women have the right to renounce. Women have the right to the sacred thread. Strinam maunji karanam ishyate, he says. So all this he says. Scriptural right is an authority is given, and yet what happens in practice is, the cultural right is not there. Because the religions, not just the Hindu tradition, but all religions have over time become very, very patriarchal. Extremely patriarchal. And perhaps not intentionally so. Perhaps out of the fear of disrupting the division of labor, which women keep up. Women do so much. Who takes care of the children and gives them all the good samskaras? Women. Who cooks, who cleans, who maintains the house? Not just maintains the house, but just makes it a home and all these things. So the contributions are invaluable. And perhaps the fear existed among the authors or sages who wrote the Dharma Shastra, the conduct. How should dharma be followed at the level of conduct? And so they got scared that if women start chanting Gayatri Mantra, Gayatri Mantra, what does it do? It gives good buddhi, right? We discussed that at the satsang yesterday. So if it gives good buddhi, then immediately the thought comes, what am I doing? Why should I be reproducing this life when I can also go to the forest? I want moksha too. And those thoughts come. And then chanting Om again is another thing that gives vairagya. And the first way in which the vairagya expresses itself is the overwhelming feeling of not wanting to cook breakfast. Okay? So, the first manifestation of vairagya is That's why it's called vairagya. Why? Breakfast. Yeah. Why this? Why that? That's why the word vairagya, And so therefore, this cannot be done, because if everybody en masse goes away, then the people got scared. And that's why all these injunctions and prohibitions, women should not chant Rudram, women should not chant Om, all these things. To keep this semblance of the division of labor, and so therefore, the sannyasis are usually men. And it is a tradition that is just so much, the force of this tradition is so much that in India, women sannyasis are hardly recognized. Hardly recognized. Like I'll be having, if I'm in India, I'll be having a discussion with people, and once 2-3 men came, they wanted something, and they said, they said with all seriousness and all respect, they came, they sat down, I gave them some tea, we were having a good conversation. They said they're inaugurating an enterprise, some kind of a home for orphans, children, something like that, girl children. And I wished them the best and everything. They said, if only there was a Swami to inaugurate. Do you know of any Swamis? And I said, yeah, there are plenty of Swamis, even from and I knew what they meant. They wanted a man. And, I said, there are plenty of Swamis. You can just look at the registry. You can just do that. You can contact these people and, and so that is how it is. It's not their fault. It is how the tradition is. So this is I thought it was very funny. I had a good laugh after they left. And because it is, the humor struck me, because it is just like Atma. It's right there and we don't recognize it. And we don't see it. That's what it is. Because of notions, we don't see it. So here also, because of notions, we don't see certain things. So like this, so it is mostly men. And so that's why it is putra, dara, it is seen as wife, etc. Because this whole sannyasa is addressed to men. And also there was some question of abilities. Abilities means, can you go to the forest? Can you sustain yourself there? Especially in those days of lions, tigers, mountain lions, cheetahs, and big cats and bears and all these things. Can you bear it in the forest? Can you be there and can you do this? This was the question. And so there were lots of questions asked, and for the safety and protection of women, the men took it upon themselves to disbar women from certain kinds of dangerous activities, like taking sannyasa. Of course, even in the current day is seen as a dangerous activity, even though there are no forests to repair to, etc. still. So then, here, let us come back to the verse and look at the meaning of the verse. Putra dara dhana adinam. Adinam means, with regard to the putra, the son or offspring in general. Dara, wife. Dhanam. What is dhanam? Wealth. Adi. What is adi? Etc. So, etc. Adi padat. Because the word etc. is used, then we have to put a few other words. What is that? Status. Because that's not included here, but by the adi, by the word etc., status, name, fame, and other important relationships, reputation, all these things. Nashe. Dhanadinam nashe. Putradara dhanadinam nashe. Nashe means in the event of destruction of these things. In the event of destruction of, unfortunately, one's own child. That's a very traumatic affair, because one does not expect to survive such a thing. It's against the order. for the child to go before oneself. So this is a very, very traumatic event. So, putra and then dara, the wife or spouse in general. When the spouse, one is bereft of the spouse, not just due to death, but some separation, divorce, etc. That is also an extremely traumatic incident, that separation. And what to talk about separation from one's life savings. That is a huge trauma, because this is what one was relying on for sustenance, not just for sustenance, for security, for a sense of security. One had put the eggs, in one basket, like that we say, in this bank account, and then now due to some problems, either one's own or other people's mischief, all this is gone. Like you see, when there was all this, what is that called? Hedge fund fiascos, people invest in the wrong things, and then after that it all goes under, finished. One day millionaire, next day just air. Yeah. Million is gone. Million is gone, only air, fresh air. So these things happen. And then when the loss of reputation takes place, and this we see among politicians all the time, some kind of some kind of a wrong picture posted on some social media by some mischief maker, finished. Or some kind of nefarious activity of the politicians suddenly coming to light. Oh, he has 2 wives, and then that nobody knew. And then that comes to light when? About 1 month before the elections. And the person's career is completely destroyed. And faced by these kinds of traumatic events, what happens? Vairagya comes. Yes. We say that Guru is the teacher, correct? Guru means, here I am talking of the Guru Tattva, represented by the planet Jupiter. Jupiter, we say, is a great teacher and benevolent teacher, and that's why Lord Dakshinamurti represents Guru, and today is Guru Vara, Thursday, and so we say, yes, this is, may the grace of the Guru be upon me, etc., etc. But one forgets that an uncelebrated teacher is Shani, Saturn. Just the methods are different, that's all. Guru says, come sit down, listen to the Shastra. Saturn says, let me take away your shirt first, and then whatever you want to do, you do. And then Saturn says, let me just tell you that you you don't have this anymore. Let me take away the rug from under the feet. And then what will you do? You will fall into the lap of the Guru. Simple, yeah. They are not inimical to one another. Saturn has drastic methods. And then Saturn is very clever. Shani is extremely clever. Shani manifests as though they are your own ideas. Yeah. Through your own mind, your own buddhi. And that's why we have a adage, Vinashakale viparita buddhi. Just before the impending disaster strikes, the thinking also goes away and one makes wrong decisions and one makes very difficult decisions. So, suddenly the idea will come, I think I should move somewhere. Why? You are fine here. No, I think I should move. And the move just, the move, moves you in more ways than planned. Upends you completely, destroys the person, because one is not able to adjust, so many other things happen. This is just karma waiting to happen. So Shani also is a teacher. And so like this, life is like that. The horror scope, unleashes a whole scope of horrors, and then confronted with these traumatic events, immediately vairagya strikes. And that is the idea. That is the idea. Because if everything is going very well, all of us here at Arsha Vidya would be out of a job. Yeah. Who would we teach? Who would come? And, so this is all perhaps a conspiracy to keep the Swamis occupied. And so who will be interested in Brahma Vidya? No one. No one. So only when generally speaking, there are some, exceptions. Few exceptions are there, like Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, Ashtavakra, etc. in the tradition. But other than that, most people, unless there is a wake-up call, the call for Vedanta doesn't come. Because the desire to study and know the truth of myself only comes when there is dispassion. And the dispassion can be enforced dispassion. In fact, it often is. Often it is enforced dispassion before the dispassion that is self-propelled comes into the picture. First, the dispassion is enforced from outside by the loss of loved ones, by the loss of reputation, by the loss of wealth, status, power, pelf, anything, that makes it worthwhile to live in society, in the world. So confronted by this traumatic event, suddenly sannyasa starts to shine as a possibility. What is this? Why? How could this happen? I don't want anything anymore. I don't want anything anymore at all. So nashe, putradara, griha also we can take, griham. When the house is destroyed, the house is gone. I thought I could keep it, but it has unfortunately gone into, what is that called? Foreclosure, and I can't afford the mortgage, all these things. Confronted by these kinds of situations, and what is the default response? I don't want it. Grapes are sour. Comes from a fable with a fox trying to jump at the sweet grapes, and could not reach it, could not get what it wanted. And so, who wants this anyway? Nobody. So this is called manda vairagya, a weak vairagya, weak both in its character and weak because it is short-lived. Because as soon as the fortunes start to turn, okay, Shani, and then because we have all these dashas. Dashas means periods in life, okay? And then within those periods there are sub-periods called bhukti or antardasha. Bhukti means that which comes, you have to consume, you have to exhaust. And so sometimes there are benefic planets. And when you have like supposing Venus is well placed in the chart, you're having Shani Dasha, but Venus Bhukti, things start to turn around. Reputation comes back, and then the wealth also a little bit okay, everything okay. I'm still somebody in the society, people are wanting me, needing me, and all these things. Then what happens? There is no, not only no vairagya, whatever vairagya was there, and the decisions made because of that vairagya are also taken back. One drops out, not of life, out of Vedanta. So for a while this was good. This was a stop-gap arrangement. So Bhagavad Gita sounded wonderful. Upanishads, fantastic, because it was addressing my pain. But now there is no pain. So therefore no Gita. No pain, no Gita. No pain, no Upanishad. And so this way, this is exactly the issue here. And so therefore what? So therefore, This is why it is called weak vairagya. Weak vairagya because it is short-lived and it is also not strong character-wise. So that's why it is called tatkaliki matihi. Look at the verse, the last word of the first line. Tatkaliki. Tatkale bhavaha, tatkalikaha. And since it is feminine, mati is feminine, so it has to be in agreement with that. Tatkaliki matihi. Tatkaliki means a thinking. Matihi here, thinking. A thinking which was just specific to that particular time. And what is that time? The time of loss. The time of difficulty. As soon as that, there is vairagya. And two traditional examples are given of this kind of vairagya. Yeah, Shmashana vairagya, funeral ground vairagya. Funeral ground vairagya means what? You see somebody in the prime of life. The person sees a friend, a dear friend in the prime of life, just robbed of the life. Suddenly, no disease, nothing, was in the pink of health, was in the prime of life, just did not get up the next day. What a shock to their friends, to their loved ones. And this man was his best friend. And he was naturally terribly disturbed, went to the funeral ground and just said, what is the use of this life? Such a bright mind, such a young wife, two small children, what is going to happen to them? How could this happen? He was the best in the career, he was the best in the office, he was the kindest person you could find. And if this is the state of life, I don't want this anymore. I don't want anything. I don't want food, I don't want drink, I don't want this life. And he makes a mental note. Note to self. Google the closest ashram. And Google the closest ashram, I'm there. I'm just leaving. Comes home. And in the ancient days, you could not even enter the house. You had to take a bath in the courtyard after going to the funeral, because there is certain kind of, what's that, pollution. Because you have been handling the dead body, etc., for hygiene's sake. So then, to take a bath in the courtyard. And then what? He pours the water over himself, finds that his wife had not heated it up enough. Or he came late because he was in his own musing, the water got cold. Where did the vairagya go? Vairagya went along with the heat of the water. And he yells at his wife, what's wrong with you? How many times have I told you I'll get a cold? I get the chills. And you don't even care. And what kind of water have you kept? He yells at her. And so much for the vairagya. This is called Shmashana vairagya. Even though he was very introspective and thoughtful as he was kicking a pebble down the road on the way back and Googling the next and the nearest ashram and wanting to go become a what is it called? I don't know, it's a sad word, inmate. Yeah. Inmate of the ashram, but that's how it's described, inmate. And become a member, become, a person who stays at the ashram. But still, that vairagya is manda because it was not very strong and because it is short-lived, did not even stay as long as it took for him to reach home. Gone. This is from the standpoint of the men. Women also can have this kind of vairagya. Here, the other example is from the standpoint of women. It is called prasava vairagya. The birth of the first child. And in the throes of the labor, the poor lady is screaming, enough, no more, Don't want to have children. What are they? Terrible. Take it away. I'm done. 3 years later, another child. No problem. So, or even 1 year later, another child. No problem. Because after the child is born, she sees the face of the child. And the child suddenly opens its eyes and looks at mother. And then there are all these, photos on the internet that make one say, oh, how cute. There's one, somebody sent on the email, and a tiny baby, and then they give it to the mother after it's born, and it touches the face with its small, tiny hands. Exactly. Means what? What labor? What pain? She sees the face of the child and forgets everything. And in another one, it's hugging the mother. Oh, with its tiny little hands. Oh, so cute, so sweet. And then all the pain is forgotten. And then the thought arises, oh, it shouldn't grow up alone. It needs a companion. It needs another little being to go with it. And so this is what is called, these are the examples of temporary vairagya, placeholder vairagya, manda vairagya. What is that? Shmashana vairagya, funeral ground vairagya, and labor pain vairagya. Prasava vairagya. Okay. So, nashe tatkaliki matihi. Tatkaliki means belonging to that particular, time. And what is that thinking? That is described in line number 2. Dhik samsaram. Dhik is a Sanskrit 4-letter word. Yeah. Why is it 4 letters? D-H-I-K. Dhik. Okay. Dhik samsaram. Dhik means, death to samsara. Fie upon samsara. Fie upon this world. Dhik. Ha, dhik. Terrible. Let the samsara go to hell. That is the idea. I don't want any part of this. I'm not going to participate in this kind of thing anymore. I need to protect myself from this pain, either physical pain in the case of labor pain or emotional pain in the case of the funeral ground example. I don't want to lose anybody anymore. And why am I having this loss? Because I have too much attachment and I'm going to just be uninvolved from now on. I don't want this. Go away, go away. And then what, So this is the dhik samsaram iti idrik matihi. That matihi belongs here. Dhik samsaram iti idrik tatkaliki mati syat. So this kind of a thinking, which is a convenient thinking. Weekend vairagya, one day vairagya. Oh, another example where you have what is a stomach flu. Stomach flu means if you look at anything other than hot water, you just feel sick already. And you say, I don't want to eat anything ever. I'm off food. In fact, this food is overrated. Somebody is having a banquet in front of you, you just feel like just going away from there. You're just completely off food. Next day, other than hot water, you can look at some soup. And the day after, you can look at some bread in addition. And after that, after you're over, the stomach bug has gone, then you want to eat up the whole world. You're that hungry. So that's another example of this kind of temporary manda vairagya. And then so, this is called viraktehe. Viraktehe means of this vairagya. Mandata syat. Mandata hisa. Viraktehe mandata hisa. So, this kind of a vairagya is called for this vairagya, there is mandata. Mandata means weakness, short-livedness is very much there, and that is why it is called manda vairagya. And then this wasn't discussed earlier because the whole focus is on renunciation. JivanMukti and renunciation go together, and so since the focus is on renunciation, these kinds of vairagyas are not discussed because they don't lead to sannyasa. I mean, you can just barely, if you have vairagya for one day, where is the question of sannyasa? So that is the thing. Samsara is not worth it. Worldly life, I don't want. All these ideas are, that is what is there. And then, so we have weak dispassion. Then this one is an example in detail of the strong type. Tivra vairagya. Asmin janmani ma bhuvan. Putradaradayo mama. Itiya susthira buddhihi. Sa vairagyasya tivrata. Asmin janmani, together. Asmin janmani ma bhuvan. Putradaradayo mama. Itiya susthira buddhihi. Sa vairagyasya tivrata. Asmin janmani. Asmin means this. And seventh case, in this. Janmani, birth. In this birth, ma bhuvan. Ma bhuvan means may there not be. May there not be. May I not have. What? Putra. May I not have children in this birth. And then dara, wife, etc. May I not have. And then may I not also desire status. I have no desire for status, reputation, house, spouse, any of those things. Mama, for me. May there not be for me. I have decided not to get married. I have decided not to bear children. I have decided not to, go on the corporate ladder. And I have decided not to build a house, own a house, etc., etc. in this life. How many people will you meet like that? Hardly any. And then immediately one thinks, oh, you haven't decided not to get a job, you must be unemployable. That is what people come to the conclusion. You're not getting a job because you're not employable. Maybe you don't have all these things. So this is what the thing is. And this is, but there are a few people, rare, but few, who will see that, they are able to see the cause and consequence. They are able to see the cause of samsara. The cause of samsara is this endless embroiling in all these things. And the more the relationships, the more the headaches, the more the things to take care of, the harder it is to do this. And they want a life which is simple. They want a life, perhaps if they are even more spiritually, emotionally mature, they know that I want to save the time to study. So I make my life, I arrange my time and arrange my life so that there's not a lot of irons in the fire, not a lot of things to take care of. So I can spare the time to study. So this kind of a thinking, it says, sa iti ya buddhihi, this kind of a intellect, susthira. Susthira means the buddhi that stays in this thought. It's not an occasional thought, oh, today I think I won't get married. But then tomorrow it's a different issue because I met somebody wonderful. So that is not sthira. Sthira means the buddhi in which one can abide. One can abide in this kind of a thinking. A predominant thought and abidance in this thinking, this is what is called, what is this called? Tivra vairagya, strong vairagya. Strong vairagya means that this kind of a thinking is here to stay. The person has made a decision not to go the regular route of job, spouse, house, headache, heart attack. That is the regular that is the regular route. So the person has already decided not to do that when? In this birth. Okay? And then this is called vairagya of the strong variety, because obviously it's not easy to do this. It's not easy, and such people are only found in ashrams, because where else will they stay? Who else will have them, right? Yeah. Even in the ancient times, if there was this Adi Shankara student, Hastamalaka, and he was about 10 years old, he did not talk at all. And they all got worried. It's not that he could not talk, but he did not speak. They all got very worried. And then they took him to the Swami and said, I think he is your child, not ours. Because he behaves like you, not us. And then he just belted out a 13 stanza verse of 13 stanzas talking about the nature of the Atma, composed extempore. Hastamalakiyam it is called. And later on when he was asked, why you don't talk? And he just said, what is there to talk about? Everything is finite anyway. What is there to talk about? So like that you will find maybe rarely some people in ashrams and other places, but it is very rare. Now this is the vairagya of the, what is that called? Tivra. Strong variety, strong dispassion. But here, notice the first two words in the mantra, Asmin Janmani. Asmin Janmani means in this birth. So that means there is a longing for another birth. A hidden longing perhaps for another birth, and in between there is a hidden longing for afterlife. So such people, they have a certain hopelessness around JivanMukti. Because hopelessness and dispassion are not the same. Even though they manifest apathy, hopelessness and dispassion are confused to be the same. In fact, hopelessness can put a wet rag on the dispassion itself and the outcome of the dispassion. Sometimes it is difficult to see it apart. One thinks hopelessness must be dispassion. Why don't you want to get married? Is something wrong with you? Meaning, are you feeling hopeless? And so, hopelessness is not dispassion. And in fact, hopelessness can interfere with the strength of the dispassion. And so here the person has made a fixed set of decisions. I'm not going to I'm not going to make samsara for myself. I'm not going to enter into the samsara soup, which is business as usual, same old, same old. And you get married, and then what? There can only be two outcomes. You can separate because you can't get along, or you put up with one another. This is what it is. Nobody is happy in either case. And then you have children, and then what do? They just leave. That's what they do. You're just a managing trustee for those little bodies. And when they are grown up, They just have their own life. And then you are left with a lot of difficulty to say goodbye, to allow them to lead their lives. Very difficult. Very difficult. This itself is a big sadhana. And this is, these are all ways. If one sees ahead, and even wealth, what will I do with wealth? I have to keep protecting it from inflation. Very strange. Money has to be protected from itself. Yeah. You have to keep reinvesting it and taking it out and putting it somewhere else. What a headache. What a terrible headache. And so I don't want this. My needs are few, and the needs will be few because I don't have a family to support. I don't have little mouths to feed. And then, because we are not like dogs. If we were, we would be very happy, actually. Because what does the dog do? It may just take one bone and bury it for safekeeping. It does not say, I need to find another bone for my puppies, one each. And then their puppies, and their puppies, for 7 generations. This is what the human being does. When is it enough? Never. Oh, something for the grandchild, something for the another grandchild, and then what about the grandchild's child, and then the grandchild's grandchild? This is how it is. One can't even die in peace thinking about all these things. And terrible headache. And so, this is so in this life, blessed are the ones who are able to see this entire trajectory and reject that before making these kinds of decisions. Just say, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm very, very sure I'll take care of the difficulties when they come. Oh, but I'll be lonely. Okay, I have the, but here one must know something about oneself. One must be able to say, I have the courage to deal with whatever comes. I have the courage to deal with the loneliness. I have the courage to deal with the fear. I have the courage to deal with the sorrow and the emptiness. Whatever happens, I'll deal with it. So the one that makes the decision is indeed blessed. Strong vairagya. But then the focus is on asmin janmani, because even though the person has the strength of mind and the courage to make this decision, there is a shadow of hopelessness. A shadow of hopelessness is there. And what is this shadow of hopelessness? I don't think I'll make it this time. I have come this far and I can't go any further, because who gets moksha? We can count the people on half a hand, maybe 3-4 people in whatever. And besides, did not Lord Krishna himself say in the beginning of the 7th chapter, what did he say? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschidyatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam vetti tatvatah. Did not Lord Krishna say at the beginning that out of thousands of people seeking me as the truth of themselves, one person, one out of the 1,000 seeking mumukshus, one is a jignasu. And out of the one seeking properly, seeking me through knowledge and seeking to know me as the truth of myself, the truth of himself, herself, oneself, then out of that, one person gains this knowledge. This is kind of sobering when you come across this, this verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Thankfully, it is after studying of 6 chapters. If it was in the first chapter, nobody would open the book. Yeah. But you see, that is one's own hopelessness, interpreting the verse in this way. These verses, in the beginning of the 7th chapter, are supposed to encourage, are supposed to make you feel special and part of an exclusive club. Like these, what is that? We have this in the airlines. You have copper, no, what is it called? Bronze. Bronze means nothing. It's just a title. Yeah. Then you have silver. Silver also is nothing. Yeah. Then you have gold. Means, once in a lifetime you'll get an upgrade by mistake. Yeah. Then you have diamond, platinum, diamond. Like this, there are all these tiers, all these hierarchies. So that this also is just somewhat like that. And so there is that kind of a hopelessness. Like, how will I get an upgrade on an international flight with a silver status? No possibility. How will I get JivanMukti? I won't get. Because look, even Lord Krishna said this. But this is a wrong interpretation. Lord Krishna said this to encourage us, not to discourage. Lord Krishna says, actually you belong to the Diamond Club. Yeah. You belong to the Diamond Club. Why? Because you have got this far. It's only few that seek me, and you are one of that few. It's only few that understand this knowledge as the truth of themselves, and you are among that few. Then you say, oh, that puts it in a very different light. I didn't see it. You see, one's own, what is that called? One's own hopelessness interferes in even understanding the Shastra. One's own hopelessness interferes in the quest for moksha. That is why asmin janmani, in this birth I know I can do this, it's in my hand, but I think I'm on the Brahmaloka route. Maybe I need to go to Brahmaloka. Maybe I can't get this here. This is the feeling. And so the secret desirer of Brahmaloka, that is why it's not stronger vairagya. It is the middling vairagya called strong vairagya, not stronger. Okay? More we shall see in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.